In the theater of politics, a congressional hearing is rarely just about finding facts. It's about constructing a narrative. And in a recent hearing, Representative Jasmine Crockett provided a masterclass in dismantling an opponent's argument, not with anger, but with their own history and their own money. The real question this raises is whether political arguments against agencies like the EPA are based on genuine principle or on a convenient and hypocritical fiction. Let's look at the key exchange that reveals everything.
Recognize Ms. Crockett from Texas for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And thank you so much, Mr. Administrator, for being here. First, I just have to, again, send love to Dr. Nance, who is my regional administrator. She and I love to go and give big checks in my district, so I appreciate her so very much. I also want to make sure that I level set, because I thought it was interesting that we were having an EPA hearing, considering the fact that some people in this chamber don't believe in this thing called climate change. So I just wanted to level set really quickly with you and find out from you if you believe that climate change is real or a hoax.
Climate change is very real.
Okay, thank you so much. I thought you may say that. And interestingly enough, you know, I'm sure that there are those in this country that are looking for those Nixon Republicans, those Republicans that simply just wanted to do the work of the people and weren't about sending out misinformation, disinformation, and continuously trying to undermine our federal government agencies that are trying to do everything that they can to protect the people. When we look at the Supreme Court in their recent ruling, again, they chose not to protect the American people, but hopefully we would get people in the legislature and maybe we can get some legislation on the books to combat what the Supreme Court did so that we can get back to the business of protecting people. The reason that I bring Nixon up is because it was President Nixon, a Republican, who spearheaded the EPA's creation at a time where our country and communities were facing deteriorating air qualities in cities, where there was rampant pollution in our neighborhoods, and when urban water supplies were constantly being contaminated with dangerous toxins. I just would imagine that President Nixon would never stand for Project 2025, which wants to do the complete opposite of that. In addition, you know, there's a lot of conversation around rolling back regulations. My colleagues continuously talk about rolling back regulations and not really understanding the importance of these guardrails. And so I just want you to listen to a situation that technically impacted your agency. In 2018, Trump made sure that he scrapped a 2015 Obama-era rule requiring advanced braking technology on trains transporting particularly hazardous materials. That rule would have required compliance by certain trains by 2021 and others by 2023. But as Fortune reported at the time, Trump's Department of Transportation decided that the cost of installing these more sophisticated brakes outweighed the benefit. While it has been noted that technically the rule would not have required the Norfolk Southern train that derailed in Ohio to have such brakes, some believe it would have if not for Trump. Norfolk Southern estimates that it will spend more than $1 billion to address the contamination caused by the East Palestine derailment and improve rail safety and operations, which includes this settlement with the United States valued at over $310 million, as well as around $780 million in environmental. Regulations are made to protect people from potential disasters such as this. And I can pretty much probably guess that the people of East Palestine would have preferred that there would have been some protections that would have kept them from enduring that terrible situation. But I want to talk about a few other things, and then I will let you go. There's been all this talk about the money that you're getting, and all this talk about our debt. I just want to remind my colleagues that it is factual. It can be looked up. Under 4 years of the Trump administration, unlike any other administration in the history of this country, they somehow managed to rack up $8 trillion in debt in 4 years. But to be clear, in racking up that debt, It wasn't because they were trying to take care of agencies such as yours that are trying to protect people and make sure that they have clean air, clean water, clean soil. It was so that the rich 1%ers could have their tax cut. And again, Project 2025 is about making sure that those tax cuts that will expire in 2025, that they will get those back again. Again, they don't want to take care of the people, and it's okay to have debt in this country so long as the 1%ers get what they want. I just want to lay that out. Finally, when we look at where this money is going from this administration, Rep. Jordan's district got $500,000. The chair's district got about $1.6 million in EPA grants. Rep. Green's district got $500,000. Rep. Luna's district got $300,000, and Rep. Perry's district got $1 million. So for Republicans that may feel a way about EPA and it allegedly pushing a woke.
Let's break down what just happened. Representative Crockett's strategy is methodical and built in layers. She begins by asking the EPA administrator if climate change is real. This isn't for the administrator's benefit. It's to establish a baseline of reality and subtly frame anyone who disagrees as being out of touch with basic science. Her core strategy, however, is to reframe the entire debate. She does this first by invoking history, reminding everyone that it was a Republican president, Richard Nixon, who spearheaded the EPA's creation. This is a crucial move. It counters the modern narrative that the EPA is a product of left-wing ideology and instead presents it as a bipartisan, common-sense solution to real problems like rampant pollution and contaminated water that existed at the time. Next, she pivots from history to a devastatingly current example, the East Palestine train derailment. She directly links the disaster to the Trump administration rolling back a 2015 rule that required advanced braking systems on trains carrying hazardous materials. The argument from the Trump Department of Transportation was that the cost of these brakes outweighed the benefits. Crockett masterfully exposes the flaw in this logic by pointing to the aftermath. Norfolk Southern is now spending over $1 billion on cleanup and settlements. Her point is clear and powerful. This isn't cutting red tape, it's gambling with public safety, and the bill that comes due is always far higher than the cost of prevention. This is critical context for understanding the debate. The term regulation is often portrayed as a burden on business, but here it is reframed as an essential safeguard that prevents catastrophic financial and human costs. The final layer of her argument is perhaps the most pointed. After establishing the historical basis for the EPA and the modern consequences of gutting it, she exposes the apparent hypocrisy of her colleagues. She lists, by name, several Republican representatives who publicly criticize the EPA and then reads out the millions of dollars in EPA grants their districts have received. She weaponizes their own success. By asking, "Can we get the money back?" she lays a trap. It forces a silent admission that while they may publicly attack the agency's woke agenda, they are more than happy to accept the money and the benefits it provides to their own constituents. This entire exchange is a powerful lesson in public policy and political communication. The debate over government regulation often gets stuck in an abstract argument about economic freedom versus government overreach. But what this hearing demonstrates is that the consequences are very real. Think of environmental regulations like the safety inspections and maintenance schedules for an airline. They add costs and complexity to the airline's operation, for sure. But we accept these costs because we understand that the alternative, a plane crash, is infinitely more expensive in terms of lives and resources. Crockett's argument suggests we should view environmental protection in the same way. The cost of installing better brakes on a train is a known manageable expense. The cost of a toxic chemical spill is open-ended, potentially lasting for generations and costing billions of dollars, not to mention the unquantifiable cost to the health of the community. What's often lost is that when a private company's gamble fails, the public, through agencies like the EPA and through their own tax dollars, is often left to manage the cleanup. So, what are the key takeaways from all of this? First, the most effective political arguments don't just shout louder. They reframe the entire conversation. By grounding the EPA in its Republican origins and focusing on the immense costs of deregulation, Crockett shifts the debate from ideology to practical, real-world consequences. Second, the idea that regulations are simply job-killing burdens is a vast oversimplification. A lack of regulation can lead to disasters that destroy local economies, property values, and public health, costing far more than any preventative measures. And third, it reveals a fundamental tension in modern politics, the conflict between public rhetoric and the practical reality of governing. It shows how politicians can publicly campaign against a system while privately ensuring their own communities benefit from it. This leaves us with a critical question. When we see this stark divide between what politicians say about government agencies and how they use them for their own districts, what does it tell us about their core beliefs? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this analysis helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video.